Please. Good evening, all of you. When I heard accolades for me from Sri Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General CII, I thought there may be many caveats, my wife being one. And my brother-in-law is also in the audience, a distinguished lawyer. So I take it in earnestness, but they may have comments to make. I would ever remember my tenure as Governor of State of West Bengal for 3 years. Every day was a day of learning. But soothing aspect was ITC headquarters is located there, and Sanjeev Puri all throughout was the chairman. I learned about ITC and its leader then. Business all the way, commitment, directional approach, and 100% to be given also back to the society. It was there I learned as a son of a farmer that ITC has to do much with agriculture, with farming, with rural development, and sustainability. Happy to have you, and happy to be here because of you. Somber, gentlemanly, decorous, Dr. Ashok Khosla did a mighty good job. Jury chair, CII ITC Sustainability Awards. My congratulations to all the awardees. My congratulations also to ITC and its chairman in particular for the commendation, the accommodation that has rightly been conferred. This will be worth emulating by other corporates also. Distinguished audience, sustainability, now a global buzzword in corporates, in governments, in international national bodies, was ever deeply embedded in our ethos for millennia. The world ignored it, and we forgot about it, and now we understand to our peril. Because the situation is cliffhanging, the time bomb is ticking, and we have no time but to act in best of capacity, in concert, in tandem and togetherness. Friends, it's a delight to join you on the 19th edition of CII ITC Sustainability Awards, because such steps are inspirational, motivational, and reminder that everyone on the planet has to perform his or her task. This platform has, over the years, emerged much beyond a forum for dialogue, for industry, but has also emerged, fortunately and significantly, as a crucible of transformation. At a time, friends, when the world seeks direction, when economies search for balance between progress and planet, when businesses rethink the very fundamentals of growth, CII continues to stand tall, offering vision, leadership, open solutions. For the past 2 decades, the CII ITC Sustainability Awards have recognized corporate excellence, which you have seen here a while ago, that is socially responsible, environmentally conscious, and economically inclusive. As a matter of fact, it is surprising on occasions that some on the planet try to impart lessons to Bharat about inclusivity. Bharat, for millennia, has been home to inclusivity in every sense, its sublimity and its contributions for a harmonious society. These awards, therefore, friends, are the affirmations of intent, beacons of new industrial ethic that places sustainability at the heart of business strategy, something that was not known years ago. And now it is integrated in every business decision and work culture. Friends, coming to these awards, the numbers speak volumes. 1,199 applicants over 18 years and 410 recognitions. But what is more inspiring is the spirit behind them. Every winning enterprise tells a story of innovation, courage, and collaboration, of going beyond compliance, of embedding purpose into profit, and of investing in a future that is greener, fairer, and more humane. Sustainability, too, is a journey of continuous evolution, of refining intent into impact, because only the convergence of the two bring about fruition and results. Each awardee today is a role model demonstrating that industry can and must pursue both excellence and equity, profit and purpose. Friends, Sanjeev Puri reflected on corporate India. When I look at corporate India from a global perspective, I find it is unparalleled reservoir of talent and exemplifies commitment and giving back to the society. It has huge potential. Its synergetic exploitation with the government actors can lead to quantum leap and geometric outcomes. This must be our priority. If this happens, the entire ecosystem will be on a different groove. India stands today at a historic inflection, and this inflection point we had not seen before. We are the most populous nation on the planet. Bharat is home to 1/6 of humanity. We are the world's largest economy at number 4, and we are the torchbearers of a development paradigm that seeks to harmonize the economic, the ecological, and the ethical. I started my political journey in 1989 when I was elected to Lok Sabha and had the good fortune to be a minister. I know economy then, its size then. I know it now. As a minister, I suffered the pain. सोने की चिड़िया कहलाने वाले भारत, the gold was airlifted to be placed to 2 Swiss banks because our foreign exchange was dwindling around $1 billion. Imagine where we have come. We are on way to progress, which is continual and sustainable. The Global 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development cannot succeed on the planet without India's participation, without India's contribution, without India's proactive, affirmative stance. And fortunately, with the vision of its leadership, India has embraced this responsibility both with clarity and conviction. The government of India has moved beyond a government-centric approach to a whole-of-society framework. Subnational and local governments, civil society, private sector players, and communities all are vital cogs in this engine of progress. But friends, this engine has to fire on all cylinders if we have to achieve tangible success. The motto envisioned by the Prime Minister and also realized on the ground by him and his affirmative hand-holding policies, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, is not just a slogan. It is national ethos. India's economic outlook remains robust. We are not just rebounding, we are redefining. According to the Economic Survey 2024-25, our industrial sector is projected to grow by 6.2%, propelled by robust construction and energy sectors. Our growth is the result of sustained reforms, infrastructure investments, and strategic digitization. Imagine if we look at past few years, exponential economic upsurge, phenomenal infrastructural growth, deep technological penetration, people-centric relief by way of toilets, gas connections, electric connections, internet connections, virtually in every household. Piped water is on way. Health and education facilities are around, with connectivity being there for everyone. Something my generation at young age never even dreamt. I've seen it with my own eyes. India is not merely aspiring to become a 5 trillion economy. Size of economy matters, but only to an extent. Becoming economy at number 1 carries a great tag, but then at the end of the day, we have to see ground realization. And therefore, India is on the right path of becoming a trusted economy, a reliable partner in the global value chain, a stable anchor in a volatile world. The world at the moment is in turmoil and turbulence. Global conflagrations show no signs of abating. Supply chains disruption is taking place. In this disturbed scenario, Bharat is a prominent voice that these issues have to be determined by dialogue and diplomacy. These words of Prime Minister Narendra Modi define what we have stood for millennia. In this country, we seek prosperity with purpose, growth with inclusion, innovation with integrity. Pyramidal progress is not suited to Bharat, its ideology, its ethos, its spirit, and its civilizational essence. The development has to be like a plateau, which means people-centric, all benefiting, people getting empowered, people having a sense of belonging to the nation. Government's role in this, friends, is only of an enabler. Heavy obligations are on the corporate world. But government is doing its bit, whether it is the National Single Window System for clearances, the Gati Shakti infrastructure plan, the focus on logistics and digital connectivity. The aim is to reduce friction and enhance productivity. This is yielding big results also. But government alone cannot, if I may say so, score the penalty goal. Government by itself cannot take those corners and corner kicks that result in goals. The private sector has a vital role to play, because at the end of the day, it is industry that drives innovation, creates livelihoods, and builds the architecture of national development. The private sector, therefore, I urge, must embrace its role not just as an economic actor, but as a co-architect of India's future. It is a vital factor in securing growth of the nation. And here, friends, I wish to highlight an important evolution in the global economic discourse to which Sanjeev Puri had reflected: the rise of environment, social, and governance ESG standards. These standards might have emerged as a Western construct, but the antecedents and the DNA bears the stamp of Bharat. It is deeply aligned, I am referring to ESG, with our civilizational values. In most recent times, let me not go back to historical perspective, the concept of trusteeship, as articulated by Mahatma Gandhi, urged businesses to act as stewards of wealth, to serve not just as shareholders, but society at large. There was a time when health and education sector were means to give back to the society by businesses. Now there is a trend that health and education are turning out to be lucrative businesses. Commercialization and commodification of these vital segments that are essentially passage only to serve the society at large, to give back to the society, is an aspect on which the corporate India will have to reflect, devise a mechanism. And therefore I urge CII must lead by example by fostering a business culture that prioritizes equity, transparency, and long-term value creation. By integrating ESG into the DNA of Indian enterprises, we can mitigate risks and also tap into new opportunities, from green finance to global collaborations. Friends, Bharat is no longer a nation with potential. Its rise is continual and unstoppable. Viksit Bharat at 2047 is not our dream. It's our set destination. We are bound to achieve it. But as we chart our course towards Viksit Bharat at 2047, we must articulate a vision of development that is bold, inclusive, and sustainable. Friends, this vision must rest on 5 foundational pillars. First, decarbonization and green growth. Climate action is not a choice, not an option. It is the only option. We have no other planet, Dharti Ma, to cohabit. It's a necessity. It is also increasingly a compelling business opportunity. If we look at it from that perspective, India has committed to achieving net zero emissions by 2070. This is an audacious goal, but with the right policy, financing, and the kind of industry leadership I see on the dais, and the commitment I see from these organizations, it is achievable. Let Indian industry become the torchbearer of this green revolution. Let us invent in renewable energy, green hydrogen, circular economy models, and carbon markets. Let us not treat sustainability as a compliance, but as a source of competitive advantage. The moment we take it in the compliance groove, the battle is lost. It has to be our priority number one. The second, technological leadership and innovation. India's digital public infrastructure, from UPI, that is now having footprints across our frontiers, very high acceptability outside also, and Aadhaar to ONDC has set a global benchmark. But friends, the next frontier lies in artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology, semiconductors, and space technology. You all are aware, being from industry, that when it came to quantum computing, we as a nation were the first one to make allocation in terms of finance of 6,000 crores. When it came to green hydrogen mission, 18,000 crores were committed. So we are countries in single digit to focus on these global priorities. But we have to be very alert also in the fields of biotechnology, semiconductors, and this has to be our priority area, even from the perspective of economic security, national security. Industry must take lead in research and development, invest in indigenous design. I would reflect for a moment on this. This is an area where there needs to be more attention, greater convergence of corporate world. By and large, what I notice, and I've said so on multiple platforms, research can't be for the self. Research can't be for the self. Research cannot be just assimilation or surface scratching. Research has to correlate to making change on the ground, and that industry can easily identify. And let us therefore build global products with Indian innovation. We can do it. We have talent. We have human genius. Our DNA is very strong. Let us move from being users of imported technology to being creators of cutting-edge solutions. Look in our history. In all these aspects, we were leaders. Look at the names. We can take pride. Indian knowledge system. The more we focus on it, the more we know that we were at the peak. Friends, the third is youth and skilling. Nearly 2/3 of our population is below the age of 35. Our demographic youth dividend, the median age being 28, we are 10 years younger than China and USA. Our demographic dividend for youth is envy of the world. But in last 10 years, what we have seen, we have had phenomenal growth as never before. This has made the nation most aspirational nation in the world. Because people have tasted the fruits of development. They have availed facilities and hand-holding policy benefits. which they never imagined. So when a nation is so aspirational, in that mode, there is always possibility of there being restive atmosphere or restlessness. And therefore, duty of the corporates in particular, that this our biggest asset has to be channelized in the right direction. And therefore, focus on youth and skilling is fundamental. The government is doing its bit by a number of innovative steps, but major part has to be done for effective transformation by the industry. It is our biggest asset, but an asset is biggest only if we harness it with vision and urgency. I urge industry work very closely with academia, training institutes, and the government to design future-ready curricula. I have said for a long time that if industry and the government converge on the same page, the results will be phenomenal, geometric, and soothing for national progress. For example, apprenticeships, internships, skill labs, and mentorships must become integral to industrial strategy. But you are experts in this. You know more about this than anyone else in the government. And therefore, these areas you have to focus by getting magnetically attracted to these. Let us build a workforce that is digitally fluent, ethically grounded, and sustainability literate. Fourth, global footprint and leadership. India's G20 presidency demonstrated our capacity to convene, collaborate, and catalyze global consensus. Look at the results of G20. One, we set the highest benchmark, which was accoladed across global platforms. Number two, we lived up to our ethos to have inclusion of African Union as a member of G20 along with European Union. The concerns of Global South were brought on the global radar by Prime Minister's vision. And then, something that interests you all, from the Global Biofuel Alliance to Digital Public Infrastructure Repository, we showed the world that leadership is not about dominance. It is about responsibility. Let me again digress slightly and reflect. One of the fundamental statements made by Prime Minister a few years ago was, we are not living in an era of war or expansion that defines our culture. Friends, Indian industry must now expand its global presence, not just in markets, but in ideas, standards, and solutions. Let us build Brand India on 4 pillars: quality, trust, innovation, and ancient wisdom reimagined for modern relevance. Let me speak my mind a little frankly before you all. Let us go for greenfield projects, increasing health sector, increasing education sector, increasing facilities around metros is fine, but it does not lead to equitable balance. And equitable balance is fundamental to cut into iniquitous conduct. And therefore, I have said for a long time, and I must share my point of view, if CSR funds of corporates are dealt with by corporates in conglomerates, then the areas that have been left out so far will get world-class institutions in health, education, and the kind. Fifth, and that is something unique to Bharat, ethics, equity, and excellence. We are not mercenaries. We don't stand for exploitation. We believe in positive unleashing of our energy to realize our dreams for the benefit of society at large. A truly developed nation is one where opportunity is not the privilege of the few, but the right of all. There was a time when equality before law was elusive. Some entertained the idea they were above law. They were beyond the reach of law. Frequently, we talked of privileged pedigree. That is no longer with us at the moment. This is one of the greatest achievements that has given in democratic life new value system. Industry, friends, must be a force for inclusion by supporting MSMEs, promoting gender and caste diversity in leadership. It's easier said than done. Gender and caste diversity has to be appreciated in the right sense. When it comes to gender, we champion affirmative action. But the real problem is when gender discrimination is subtle. When the gender discrimination cannot be imparted in words by the normal desire to dominate that runs down the gender. And I say so because it was one of my proudest moments in Parliament when Women Reservation Bill was passed after 3 decades of hiccups. That is for sustainable development in governance. Now 1/3 members of Lok Sabha and 1/3 members in state legislatures, minimum, will be from this gender, women. But what is more significant, which the world is now noticing, and which is a unique facet of Bharat, this women reservation is vertical and also horizontal. Keeping in view the sustainability aspect, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe women have also been accommodated in the right situation. Friends, I urge CII to serve as a moral compass for Indian industry, guiding it towards ethical entrepreneurship and value-led growth. I'll tell you something which you know it more than I do. Economic nationalism is fundamentally connected with sustainability. If in a country like Bharat, we import avoidable items, kites, candles, diyas, furnitures, carpets, all these things, we are doing 3 things. 1, we are generating a hole in our foreign exchange kitty, avoidable hole. But that's not much. The real bleeding aspect is we are also snatching work from our own people by rewarding those who work for us for clothing, etc. And third, which matters to all of you, we are in the process also blunting entrepreneurship. And same applies, friends, when raw material is exported from this country. Raw material export is an indication to the world that the nation is not in a position to add value to it. Such a stamp on our working is not desirable. And therefore, we have to create cultures of accountability and purpose, keeping the nation in mind, the ordinary man in mind. Friends, we are living through what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has rightly called the Amrit Kaal, a period of transformative opportunity that comes once in centuries. It is time to reimagine India not in fragments, but in its full interconnected potential. As we gather today under the banner of this 19th edition, let us recommit ourselves to the vision of a developed India we had once: prosperous, inclusive, innovative, and ecologically balanced. Bharat that leads with compassion, competes with confidence, and collaborates with courage. To the members of the CII, I urge the torch of leadership in your hands. Please carry it with pride, but carry it also with a purpose that relates you to the common man who is looking to make his today and tomorrow better. The journey to Viksit Bharat is a path we create with every ethical decision, every green investment, every job created, and every life transformed. Friends, I have had the great opportunity by virtue of being chairman of the Council of States, the upper house, the House of Elders, in common parlance known as Rajya Sabha. I see varied opinions, but two things disturb me very greatly. One, our real jewel was dialogue, discourse, deliberation, debate, convergence of views, consensual approach. All these were defined by the Constituent Assembly that did not have a single disruption or a single disturbance incident. And now, when these temples of democracy on occasions get sacrileged, we are bound to be deeply concerned because the common man suffers. And therefore, I conclude with a word of caution. Let us not be carried away by narratives set afloat from outside the country. Let us not allow others to calibrate us. Let us firmly root ourselves to commitment for this nation and keep this nation always first. And the greatest tribute we can reflect for our nation is a testament that we believe in sustainable development. Thank you so much.